Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Igniting the fire within you. Exalting the melody of freedom. These are the things that will bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Down, down, down.
Let me tell you, it's in the air. Joy is in the air. Love is in the air. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Don't sleep on it, brother. You might get left, sister. Can you feel it? What it feel like? Freedom. What it feel like? Justice. No need to be counted, cause I am down. Down, down, down. Down, down, down. Down for the end of racism, for the end of bigotry, cause I am down. For the end of misogyny, that's right. For all the isms out there, just down, down, down. Let's bring it down. Rise up, people. No more foolishness, and let's bring it way down.
Riding the river of change into the cries of contrition. This is the way that we bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. We are the children of Eden, dancing and celebrating freedom. We are the ones that must bring it down. Down, down, 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 down. So gather the faithful. Tell everyone to stand and shout loud. Shout loud. Shout loud. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it down, down. Let's bring it down. Let's bring it way down. Let's bring it down. We've got to bring it down. Down. Stand up and shout. Stand up and shout. Rise together.
Accountability starts now. The Eric Dawson Radio Show.
Yeah. Rise up. Stand up, shout it loud.
If you are not prepared to come to that table and to represent that voice, don't come. Because we don't need any more brown faces that don't want to be a brown voice. We don't need black faces that don't want to be a black voice. We don't need Muslims that don't want to be a Muslim voice. We don't need queers that don't want to be a queer voice. And if you're worried about being marginalized and stereotyped, please don't even show up.
Hey, Kevin.
Hey, Eric Dawson, how are you?
Represent what voice?
God bless America. Hey, Eric.
Yeah, man.
I'm black.
Hey, Kev. I'm representing the black voice.
How you doing, man?
Hey, I'm doing all right, brother. Today is Friday. Listen, we shook a lot of people up on yesterday's show.
Yeah.
My phone rang and rang and rang. People felt uncomfortable, Kevin. Why do you think that is?
Can you hear me?
I got you.
I have no idea.
I think they felt uncomfortable because the ball's in their court. You know, as long as, you know, we're pointing fingers at elected officials and pointing fingers outside of their community and outside of their homes, and we're saying that it's Donald Trump's fault or it's somebody else's fault, everybody can get on board with that. But then when we start talking about the disease that has permeated our community and how we ourselves are infected, right, and what we need to do to disinfect ourselves, well, then that requires work. It requires introspection. And people are not prepared to do that because it's ugly, it's hard, it's difficult. And you saw that in some of the comments in the feed. People said, this is hard to listen to, it's difficult. You know, but the only way that we're going to change it is to lean into the conversation, lean into the knowledge, right? Extrapolate that which will empower us to effectuate change. But as long as we continue to take the blue pill, want to get plugged back into the matrix, want to be somebody important in our next life, ignore the realities of our daily situations, nothing is going to fundamentally change, right?
Well, I think you're right. But let me start the morning off by saying, good morning, Informed class. It's another day to tell the truth. And I got to thank Brother Farrakhan for allowing us to use this fabulous barbershop where all discussions start and begin, because when I was growing up, I had some of my most important conversations about politics, sex, love, relationships, brotherly love. You know, barbershops were the center of my life when I was growing up. And it's just great to be in the barbershop with a black male, a foundational black male, an ADOS black male that is always trying to give back, always trying to provoke thought. And I got to tell you, I just love that brother. He's a very, very powerful man, and he's a spiritual man, and he's a great example. And I hope that all the young people that come into his barbershop, his place of business, his place of hope, I call his barbershop the place of hope. Because I don't know what my old ass is doing in his barbershop doing the show with Eric Dawson.
So that is the new center of hope?
That's the new center of hope.
Where they doing something?
We got to call Farrakhan's place as the center of hope.
Yeah, where they doing something?
Where they're doing something. Yeah. And the other thing is, I am very, very proud of what we're accomplishing. And I think that the book that the Willie Lynch letter, was a deep dive in the psychosis of the black dilemma that's facing us in this country. It was the absolute roadmap. It is the absolute playbook. And it is current today.
Yes.
So now you don't have to believe me. Believe that guy that came into that town and said, I got a message for you.
Had to keep them under control for 300 years at least.
I got not a message from Kevin Jenkins, not a message from Eric Dawson, not a message from Diane, not a message from Farrakhan, but a message that is going to be clear, concise, and this psychological drama that I'm going to write for you is going to be appropriate for the rest of the black people's lives as long as you have control over them. And you know what? I got to tell you, it is a stroke of genius.
Yeah.
So when we talk about the mass incarceration, and I'm not going to do the list because I have a splitting headache. But when you talk about all of what the black dilemma is, if you did not read the book, go purchase the book.
Well, no, they could purchase it, but we played every chapter on yesterday's show.
Yeah, I know. That's true. Thank you for clearing that up for me.
The entirety of the book, all 6 chapters, were played out yesterday on the show.
That's right. Thank you for clearing that up for me. So I was very, very energized after the show, and I had long, extended conversations about what we talked about on the show. And I would hope that the people that listened to that particular show would have shared that show 100 times, because that show was important. No one has an excuse moving forward after us breaking down the concept of the letter, the reason why the letter was written, the methodology of the letter, and that it is still in play today. So, no one as of yesterday, that's an informed class member, that did not share the show. If you did not share the show, you are now currently participating in the homicide.
Right. Well, you know what? So I'm going to give him something really productive to do. For the duration of Black History Month, no matter what else you do, I'm going to ask that you go back and share yesterday's show. So share it today. Tomorrow, I'm going to ask you to share yesterday's show. Every day for the duration of Black History Month, I'm going to ask you to go back and share the show from February 6th, 2020. If you do that for the duration of the month, we will spread that message far and wide. So when people say, Kevin, what is the solution? What's in your hand? Is it in your hand and in your heart and in your mind to say, you know what? I've got some information to share. Share that show. We get up every day, Kevin, 10 to 12, to tell the truth.
Well, it's interesting that you just said that, because I told you years ago, and I'm telling you now, and I'm telling you this second, and I'm telling you as I breathe. A lot of Black Americans, foundation of Black Americans, descendants of slaves, that book was written in 1712. I think I was wrong, 1742. It's 1712. And that has been a circular, document that has been used as a tool every day to suppress our humanity. Now think about what I'm saying to you. That is a circular document. It is not gone anywhere. They didn't put it on the shelf. They say, well, we continue to use this tool.
Right.
So when we talk about circular conversation, their institutional science, their methodology is very circular and has been very effective. Yeah. So when we're having these conversations on the show, we are trying to re-engineer you with this circular conversation and empower you with the right information to detach yourself from servitude, detach yourself from the Black dilemma you live in, and detach yourself from the horror that will continue to impede on your life if you don't understand what we're talking about.
And I'm going to stress it again. We cannot do this without you. Right? So, share yesterday's show again and again and again. We talk about the uninformed class that drives their children into these factories of death. We talk about the uninformed class that is running rampant in our communities, electing politicians who are failures. We talk about the uninformed class who continues to litter in our streets and live in filth. We talk about the informed. So I'm saying let the informed class be activated, right? And so it is I think anyway, it's a small thing to say, just hit the share button, right? Go through your phone, your contacts. And if your friends don't have Facebook, they have the internet, so they can get to YouTube. Send them the YouTube link. Ask them to watch it, and then ask them to share it with 5 people. But this is the thing that we can actively do. We talk about the re-engineering of our community. We talk about the fact that we've allowed other folks to socially engineer our children. Yesterday was a great show for young kids to watch, too, and to listen to, and for parents to have a conversation with them about it. There was no vulgarity in it. You know, it was all pure historical fact about who we are in terms of how they see us and how they have created and mastered the science of manipulation and behavioral study, right? And implementing it now. To sit down and have this kind of, especially during see, I know you laughed at Black History Month, Kevin, but I want to use it as a marker. And I want to say you have the power, right? I talked about the parent in Montclair who felt helpless because the teacher arbitrarily decided that she was not going to participate in a lesson assignment to educate the children in her particular classroom. And I'm saying, okay, fine. You're not helpless, right? You're watching the show. You can hit the share button, right? That's your phone. That's your laptop. That's your desktop that you're watching the show from. You can do that. And you can have the conversation with your children. And there
are other books. Our next book is going to be When Affirmative Action Was White. I know you're going to deck that up probably next week. And that's going to be a very, very important book because we always talk about pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, and we're always bragging about how we individually are doing. But when they go through this book, When Affirmative Action Was White, I think everybody will be silent for the rest of their lives.
Yeah.
And it's all about team, and it's all about groups, and it's all about access, and it's all about opportunity, and it's all about transfer of wealth. It's all about how government works to empower other groups over you. So, getting back to the maximum sophisticated confusion that we've been talking about the last couple of days with Gayle King and her misappropriated behavior, because she is absolutely probably the CFO, if not CEO now, of the Corporation of White Supremacy. I don't know if you've been following this, Eric. But what Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King and other people like them have clearly been the best example of when we say someone's a slave catcher, someone's a, Negro whisperer, someone, selling poverty, engaging in poverty propaganda. Now what they're attempting to do is work tirelessly. And if you remember the book yesterday, the Willie Lynch papers, they are working tirelessly to continue to deconstruct maleness, black maleness, make it the face of hate, make it the face of rape, make it the face of ignorance.
But in watching this though, in watching this, and I posted this on my page, we saw what Gayle did to R. Kelly. And not that I'm excusing R. Kelly's behavior, but the question is, why did she jump to the front of the line, right, to be the person to tear him down? And Oprah Winfrey and the documentary Neverland with Michael Jackson. Why did Oprah jump to the front of the line to do that? And now you have and then Oprah with what was the gentleman's name?
Harvey Weinstein?
No. Who used to have the deaf? I think he started Def Comedy Jam. Russell Simmons, right? Why did Oprah jump to the front of the line to want to tear Russell Simmons down? And now we have Gayle King, and we ask the question: why is Gayle jumping to the front of the line to be a part of tearing, of trying to, to tear Kobe Bryant's legacy down? But what I was most amazed with, Kevin, and thrilled with, man, was to see the immediate and unrelenting backlash from people like Snoop Dogg and the like, who just came at her and said, no, not going to do it anymore. We're not going to take it anymore. So much so that they pushed Gayle King to do a Facebook Live from her kitchen table. I want you to understand what that represented. Now, I'm not saying that she's contrite, right? I understand that, she's still operating from the playbook of the Corporation of White Supremacy. But the very fact that she took to social media airwaves from her kitchen table said that we were applying pressure to her. And like we say on this show, the Corporation of White Supremacy right now, Kevin, is on their heels. They're caught off guard, man, with the fact that you have so many people who are emerging with this level of social consciousness and watching this stuff and seeing it as it's playing out and then reacting to it. Caller, go.
Good morning, gentlemen. How are you?
Hey.
Good morning, brother. How are you?
I'm fine, but I was calling. I was hoping that you guys made some mention about this Gayle King thing today, because I I finally got to, last night I watched the little interview that she did with Lisa Leslie, and then I watched the Snoop Dogg response. And I have to say, while, yes, Gayle King was wrong for how she treated that interview or what she was trying to bring out, because she spent a lot of backup questions on the issue after Lisa had basically said, I didn't believe it, and that he was a good man, and then she spent way too many questions trying to change it or make it sound like she wouldn't know the type of guy he was, like, you wouldn't get if you were his friend, which was ridiculous. But I have to say Snoop was wrong. He was wrong for how he spoke to Gayle, how he threatened her, and to imply that, like, this is how we're going to treat our women that make us, that we disagree with. This is the Willie Lynch letter. This is the miseducation of the Negro. This is we as black men. I don't care what our anger is. We all get mad at different things, and we get mad at each other, women and fellow men. But we cannot go in public and berate our women like that. We can't degrade women like that. We can't. I mean, he repeatedly called her a bitch, and in the way he did it, it was like, "Can I say it, y'all? Can I say it?" Like he was actually trying to say, let the world say that it was okay to treat her in this manner. And no, it is not. We can never do that. We can never let people think that we are this far apart that we can do that. So in that sense, I have to say Snoop was wrong. I think anybody that cheers what he said or did, I respect that he was trying to say, look, stop trying to tear down our people, especially when they're not here to defend themselves. I don't have any problem with that. But the manner in which he did it was dead wrong.
So
no other way about it.
Okay. So you wanna take this, Kevin? Because I got.
Well, yeah, I want to take a couple of things if you give me a second.
Yeah,
First of all, I mean, after reading the Willie Lynch papers, the Willie Lynch letters, I want to go back to Gayle's role in the corporation of white supremacy before I get to the political incorrectness of Snoop Dogg, because I don't want to get away from that. Oprah Winfrey has been dealing with this kind of stuff for years. Her spiritual healer has been locked up for rape. There's people in her life that are not black that have done horrible things that she's never spoken about. And to take these two black men, or to take these three black men that might have problems and might have issues, but after reading the Willie Lynch letters, we understand the complexities of what they are, why they are, and how they became what they are. I just want to stay on Willie Lynch letters first. So Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King have played a very proactive role over the last several years. And the reason why they're doing it is because they're getting paid to do it, and because they don't believe that black men have value. And to tear a black man down is easier than tearing a white man down, because that's where they make their money. So let's stay focused on that first. I can deal with the Snoop Dogg's language or political. I mean, he might not be. I'm not being correct in how he displayed his anger. Right. So let's stay right there, because Gayle said yesterday, I didn't know. Here's why she's a liar, can't be trusted. And we might have had to say something different, but not just take Snoop out, but that the rest of the country, the rest of Black America said, you no longer get to talk about our black men. You no longer get to represent us. You don't work for us. That's not, take Snoop out.
Right.
But that's what the rest of the country said.
Correct.
That's what the woke black people said. So I want to stay there first. So if you look at Willie Lynch, if you look at Gayle's behavior and Oprah's behavior, it is horrible, and I'm glad we're identifying them for who they are. I'm so happy that we're taking this codified language and calling her a Negro whisperer, calling her a slave catcher, calling her someone that is anti-black. And because you have the skin that looks like mine doesn't mean that you are consciously like me.
Right.
Now, let's go on Snoop's side. I would have hoped in that moment that Snoop might have not called her a BTICH. I don't think that was appropriate, right? I don't think it. So when I have to measure, see, this is what Willie Lynch was so appropriate. The psychology was so appropriate. Black men in this country right now they have never had a voice to even be angry about anything, because every time we had a voice, they took it away from us. They ripped our throats out. They allowed people like Gayle and all of the rest of the Negro whispers we talk about every day to participate and criminalize criticizing us, demonizing us, all down the list that I have. I can't even remember the stuff anymore. So he was inappropriate. We shouldn't be talking to women like that. We should not be doing it. But I don't want to take what he did and put that right in the middle of what she had been accomplishing, and she's been doing exceptionally well. She did it to Bill Cosby. She did it to all of the black women. And let me give you another example.
All right, wait a minute.
Wait a minute. You can't stop me. Wait a minute. I'm talking.
Right, but Kevin. Okay.
All right, wait a minute. No, you have to let me unpack this.
Right, but
Just like the lady in Jersey City.
Right.
They made her the face of hate.
Right.
Just like the guy up in Montclair, they made him the face of hate. But don't you see how the Corporation of White Supremacy is doing that?
No.
You just said something very You said something very interesting. You said black men never had a voice to be able to display his anger. And now the Corporation of White Supremacy has allowed one voice, and that is the voice of a black man to be disrespectful.
No. Wait, Farrakhan.
See what it's doing, though.
Okay,
Farrakhan. Says, well, you ain't got the voice to say nothing about white people who really doing it. But if you want to cuss out a black woman, go right ahead.
Right. So here's what I'm going to say to you. Right? I think that when we want to measure how people ought to address their pain, that's wrong, right? It's as wrong as when we were having a conversation about women who were saying that they were sexually abused, and folks were saying, well, why didn't they come out earlier if they were, right? And then you say, well, you can't tell somebody how to measure their pain. What I'm saying to you is this, and I agree with Kevin, or in some respects. When Snoop did what he did, I think he did it, I know he did it as a black man completely frustrated with the system and how the system is designed to use black women to tear black men down. And for him to watch not one time, not two times, but multiple times, this duo of Oprah Winfrey and Gayle King tearing black men down, I saw the pain. And I'm going to tell you, I'm not going to be the one that suggests to him how he ought to manage that pain. See, sometimes the way that you express it is just authentic, and it is who it is. And to sit when you're not experiencing that same level of pain as somebody else is and talk about some level of political correctness or some other way that they ought to come about talking about it, I think is inappropriate. So I love the fact that he expressed himself. And I'm going to leave it there.
Well, you know, the thing that gets me, and Farrakhan, as far as disrespecting black women, we should never do that. Just be clear. I got it. And I understand what Eric is saying. But this is the thing that I just find so freaking unbelievable. We see this kind of behavior in our communities every day.
But wait a minute, Kevin, I want to ask you a question, though. I got to ask you this question. See, when we say, look, if I measure the damage that Gayle King and Oprah Winfrey have done, right? A lot of damage that we don't see, psychological damage that'll play itself out in years to come. Where do we get to the point where we talk about the level of danger that they represent, and then have the conversation about what disrespect is and what disrespect isn't when you're trying to halt somebody who is creating a dangerous environment? I would say, so if we were to say, look, we need to halt that danger by any means necessary, right? That we fully understand it. See, because I understand it. I understand the level of influence that an Oprah Winfrey has and the level of influence that a Gayle King has. And I understand the damage that has been done and will continue to be done unless they are both stopped. And I'm saying stop by any means necessary. And so I'm not saying, well, you know, we need to approach with political correctness. We need to approach with politeness. I'm saying we need to get them the F out of the way. And I think that that is the manner in which Snoop Dogg approached it. He said, no, you got to move. This is, when we talk about existential threats facing foundational Black Americans, I think that Snoop saw that and said, you got to move. And now to look and measure it and say, well, but we got to move this way. We got to be gentle about it that way. I'm saying, no. I'm saying that the danger she represents was... The danger she represents was met with what I think was an appropriate response.
He's a clown. I can't let you keep trying to get this man props like that. He's a clown.
Look, I'm not judging Snoop.
Gangster, but the nigga was crying on TV.
Understand, I'm not judging Snoop Dogg I'm not judging him outside of that video. See, I'm taking that video, that snapshot, and I'm judging that snapshot. Listen, he could be the biggest. Look, he could be
sitting around with a goddamn scarf on his head early in the morning, talking on the internet. He's a clown, man.
Look,
and we can't give fools like him no respect.
No.
That man disrespected a black woman. Unacceptable.
No.
Because if a white man did it, it'd be unacceptable.
I have a point.
If a white man got up there and said it, it'd be wrong. And it's wrong for him to have said it. There ain't no ways around that.
No. Well, that's your opinion.
But that's what her influence is in this world show. We can talk about that. But in the end, I don't care what. You don't do that.
No, I disagree with you. Call or go.
I have a point.
Go.
Good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I'm not going to get in this because this is man's barbershop talk, but I just have one point to infuse. I agree with the caller. There is a way that you talk to women. And I don't think he's dismissing what he said. I think he's dismissing the manner in which he took it. And I think that's how we have to look at things. Because when men talk to women in ways, to black women, they are not allowed to do that to white women. I can't even think of an instance in public media that a white man has called a white woman a bitch.
Right.
I can't.
Right.
So that's my point. I'm hanging up. I'm listening because
So listen, this is what I'm gonna say, and I mean this, right? And I may get in a lot of trouble on this show, but look.
Yeah, you get in a lot of trouble today, brother.
I don't know, and maybe you guys will read what's in the thread, but I think I don't think that women should have this force field around them that they could hide themselves in womanhood, right, and be reckless and dangerous. I think that you have to, at some point, remove the gender and look at the danger, right? And see, and I think that I think it's very good. Let me finish my thought, please.
Why does a woman have to be a black woman, though?
Let me finish my thought. And so I'm looking at the danger. I'm not looking at the gender. I'm looking purely at the threat. And I'm saying eliminate the threat. You now want me to consider the gender that is posing the threat. And I'm saying it is a threat. If a woman came into my house with a gun pointed at my family, I'm not going to consider whether or not it's a man or a woman. I'm looking at the threat, and I'm going to eliminate the threat. That's where my mindset is. So now, outside of that, when things calm down, for somebody to say, well, Eric, you shouldn't have tackled her. You shouldn't have hit her in the head with a baseball bat because she was a woman. I'm saying she had a gun.
Do you remember a few years back, right? Barack Obama made some comment about putting lipstick on a pig in reference to something Hillary Clinton said.
Yeah, that's
not calling her a pig. Right? And
apples, oranges.
Oh, hell no, you can't say that to a white woman.
Apples,
now,
oranges.
I want to know how the hell a black man get on TV and can tell a black woman she's a bitch, and everybody says that's okay. At some point, you got to see what's really going on. And what's going on is that you can do anything to a black woman.
No.
But you get Donald Trump. They tear Donald Trump up every damn day when he talks about or insults a white woman. And he ain't called one a bitch. He just insults them. Right? And they say he's wrong for doing that. But you want to tell me Snoop Dogg can't be ridiculed and said, oh, hell no, you can't say that about a black. And he asked, check this out, he asked his followers, right, the way he built it up before he said it, he asked to say it.
Right.
And then said it as if he got permission from us to say it.
Right.
Well,
got another call. Got another call. Call or go.
Good morning, family. This is Renee. How are you all?
Good morning.
Hey, Kevin. Hey, Diane. Hey, Eric. All right, listen. Let's not lose focus and on the context of the whole genesis of what we're talking about in terms of her statement. Number one, my opinion, he had every right to say what he needed to say, however he wanted to say it, to whom he needed to say it to. Second thing is, and far more important, she disrespected the memoriam of Kobe Bryant. That was the context of the conversation. She didn't have to keep posing the question and digging to get Sister Leslie to respond to it. So again, all I'm saying is this. When it comes to, bringing the real raw reality and truth, and like you said, Eric, we want to put in these barriers and blockage if you're a female, if you're a man. The bottom line is if you order it, you're going to get served, point blank, period. That's just like when nobody said anything about when she and Oprah, defended Weinstein, and they all kissed up on, on pictures with them. Nobody brought that issue out and spoke against it. And you got to remember, Snoop also came for the people who, disrespected the other brother in California when he passed. So whether he wears a rag or not on his head, brother, one thing you cannot do, Snoop has stood truth to his truth from day one. And that's not what we're ready for. I'm not talking to you. Don't interrupt me, Farrakhan. Don't do it.
You got to let her finish, Farrakhan. Farrakhan, you got to let her finish. Farrakhan, you have to let her finish.
I'm not okay, whatever. Because you just said, Lord.
Okay, wait a minute. Wait, Renee, I'm going to ask you to stop for 1 second. Renee,
I've been listening to Snoop for buying his records for 20 plus years. So don't tell me
okay.
I'm not talking about what Snoop is. Brother, listen, Eric.
Okay, I'm going to hang both calls.
If you say you know something about the man, we're going to start with the basic. What's his name?
Let him finish,
Farrakhan.
What's his name?
Farrakhan.
His name is
Herein lies your problem.
Because you know nothing about him, bro.
You don't know what I know. You don't know me. Fall back. Fall back. Fall back.
I don't care who you are. Black, white, green, or purple. You don't do
whatever.
Right.
Whatever,
but Farrakhan, the first thing that we...
Please finish my statement. Eric, take control of the show.
Yeah, Farrakhan, you have to allow her to finish her statement, brother. Go ahead, Renee.
Exactly, thank you. I appreciate that. And again, you don't know me, you don't know who I know, and you don't know what I know. I respect your opinion and any caller's and the show's opinion. I'm simply expressing mine. So the point of it is, again, had she not put the question in the position of this brother's demise and his memoriam, it may have been taking a different effect to people. But she was blatantly trying to bring up a dead issue, no pun intended, about this brother's character. We already had the conversation about the other reporter on Fox who tried to bring that up. And the man is not even put in the ground. That's the content.
You gotta let her finish.
This is the content and the...
Did anybody point out the whole business to any other white people that said it? Did Snoop get up on the thing and say that about white people? No! So stop saying it! And yet I'm telling you, I'm pissed, man. I'm pissed when somebody's gonna tell me that it was okay for him to curse out a black woman, but he ain't did anything to white people. There are at least 10 other famous and known white people that said the same type of shit about the man, but then nobody cursed him out. So can't nobody tell me that that's cool. That's sad. That's pure G sad.
Okay, we done? You done with your interrupting me in my comment?
I've been done with you. That's why I keep talking.
Well, see, and then oh Lord.
Well, this is what here's the problem with these conversations. Let me let you finish, Renee, and then I have something to say. So let me let you finish, and then I'm gonna say something.
Well, I've already said it, and again, it's all I'm saying is this, Kevin. This is all I'm saying again. Opinions are like assholes. Everybody got one, okay? You have yours, I have mine. That's respect, and we can keep this respectful on this show or any other platform that you and I may or may not engage in. But here's again, you don't know me, you don't know who I know, you don't know what I know. So whether he made the comment to the sister who just happened to be a Nubian sister, that's on her. She ordered it, she got served. She didn't respect the black man who was, murdered and killed. However, he was murdered and killed on that helicopter. Nobody spoke to her against her when she and Oprah were defending Weinstein and other celebrities. So we're going to take color out of it and deal with the content of the consciousness. She had no business disrespecting that man's demise before he was even put back in the earth. So I'm done with the conversation. I'll listen to you, Kevin.
Thanks for the call.
Thank you.
Yeah. Well, so here's the skinny. And this is why the book, the Willie Lynch letter, is just punching me in my mouth right now. I'm like, well, I'm going back to everything I heard yesterday. So let me just go back to the Gayle King thing, and then I'll try to be as quick as possible. Gayle King knew exactly what she was doing. She knows exactly what her role is. And Willie Lynch letters obviously outlined that for me. Okay? That she outlined that for me. I mean, so we know who Oprah Winfrey is. We know who all these people are. But this is the thing that's really getting me sick to my stomach as I'm going through this process. And I'm going to get in trouble worse than you are, because I'm not supposed to ever use this word. My mother's listening. She's going to be pissed. I don't want to hear any more fake and outrage about anything else. Because we got one thing that we talked about in Farrakhan's barbershop. It is the methodology. It is the institution of science that they have engaged in, that we have participated in, that has led us down this bumpy road. I don't think that he should have called her BITCH. I don't think he should have threatened her. He's smarter than that. The guy's a real one. A guy with real money should have organized his thought. It might have been out of anger. So let's do this. I'm going to say to him, the next time you want to communicate something globally that way and use that platform, don't trigger and give other people excuses to call her a BITCH, or I'm going to come and get her ass, because that's not the kind of culture we want our kids to learn from, because that's what Willie Lynch did. But on the other hand, people like her need to pay a price. People like all of these Negro whisperers that we talk about on a number of levels need to pay a price. And I am very happy that we're finally waking up. We're finally engaged. Don't worry about being politically correct, because if you go back and you look where Willie Lynch said this was all a plan for us to disconnect from each other, for us to be disrespectful to each other, for us to be able to offset our anger for blacks as opposed to offsetting our anger for what white people do to us every day. So this is an important discussion if you use the book or the letter as the platform. That's why I'm listening. I'm saying, isn't this interesting, right? We don't want black men calling black women bitches and hoes and all of that stuff. We don't want our black women without their clothes off of themselves and looking skank and looking nasty and thinking that's going to sell to the corporation of white supremacy. But we don't want Negro whisperers like these elected officials we've been talking about. We don't want people engaged in propaganda, managers. All of that stuff we talk about. Right. So we got to zero down. We got to drill down. See, I don't mind the back and forth about this. Right? I don't. And you know how I feel about this fake entertainment class. The question is, here's the question. Where was the NAACP on that issue with Kobe? Where were these fake black institutions on that issue with Kobe? Because they damn sure went after that black woman in Jersey City and called her the face of hate. Where was all of this outrage when it came to that woman?
Right. Here is the black dilemma for me. Right? That woman that's on your wall, Kevin, in your dining room.
Oh, my baby, Harriet Tubman.
Harriet Tubman, right? Yeah. We can celebrate Harriet Tubman and what she did or supposedly did while trying to escort enslaved folks from a plantation on the Underground Railroad to freedom. The story as it goes, fact or fiction, is that those who sought to be obstructionists, she shot them in the head, right? Because she understood the importance of the mission. I don't know if that is a true story, whether she took into consideration the gender of the person she shot in the head. What she did was recognize the danger they posed in being able to free as many slaves as she could, enslaved people as she could. And so what I'm saying again is this: the black dilemma is, so what do we do when we identify a slave catcher? What do we do when we identify a Negro whisperer? What do we do? And so what I'm saying again is I'm focusing on the danger posed and how to eliminate the threat. And whatever the aftermath is after that, I say, how many souls, how many lives did we save?
Well, let me tell you what I'm going to say. If anybody calls Renee Brooks a bitch dying, a bitch, or under any circumstances, I want everybody to be clear. You're going to have to deal with me. So now, the reason I'm listening to everything, I would have hoped that he didn't say it the way he said it, because so many people listen to him. See, there's a gang culture, all those things you said, the misinformed, the ignorant class, they purchase that and they run with it instead of reading the Willie Lynch letter. And why we are in the condition that we're in, instead of reading the miseducation of the Negro, understanding the psychosis that's happening or the destruction that's happening to our community by using that playbook in our schools. They will focus on what he said and take that as an original narrative, anything that they are disgruntled about, instead of unifying around the fact that...
I agree with that. Yes, and we need to deal with that. I agree with that. And we need to deal with that. We need to understand that you do have those folks over there who will take that piece of it, right, and they'll react a certain way. And so we need to continue the conversation. I'm simply saying we need to eliminate the threat. Call or go.
Hey, that was a great analogy, Harriet Tubman. Everything that was discussed yesterday, like Kevin said, is coming back to slap us in the face. We talked about the science, we talked about the language, and Harriet Tubman, science of her routing was so important to her. That was a true story. She carried a shotgun and a sidearm, and she used them well. She was a general in the military. They used her to get behind enemy lines. Her story is more richer than we explore. But the science of technology and how it's being used today to cause strife amongst us is sort of like what King said when it comes to how modern man has put time in chains, and it's being used to put us back in chains with fighting each other. And the language he used was just as harmful as Gayle's language of trying to maneuver and slide in a disrespect. Her language was just as damaging as Snoop Dogg's. I don't advocate nobody calling no woman out of their name. And I'm not perfect, and my language can be foul just like the next one. But at the same time, both of them is being used in a way that's destructive. But go ahead.
Now, Mike, can I say this? I grew up in a culture of men that were very respectful to women. And there's been a breakdown based on what we've read in the Willie Lynch papers. It's been adversely changed. So I would never be able to use that language in front of my daughter. We have to get, it's interesting. We have to develop a new code of conduct on even how we communicate with each other. But when it comes to the black woman, right, we have to empower them enough that it's all right to be able to stand next to a black man and have a conversation about how we work together to change what Willie Lynch is actively engaging in right now, that level. And I want us to get there with that. See, I like these heated conversations. I think, look, me and Farrakhan have been in, me and Renee have been in them. That's okay.
Yeah.
But there's an existential threat that I keep talking about. And it is that Negro whisperer, right, that is absolutely engaging in maximum sophisticated confusion every day that leads us down this road. And that's why the Willie Lynch papers, the White Fragility, the book we're going to read, the Win Affirmative Action, we're developing the Muhammad, the message to the black man. We are trying to get someplace so when we go outside our houses, when we lift up those curtains, when we lift up those shades, we're all speaking on code.
Right, Kevin. Can I? Because you said that they're engaging in maximum sophisticated confusion. That's not all they're engaging in. They're actively engaging in homicide. They're actively engaging in genocide. See, it's not just maximum sophisticated confusion. So when I look at a person like Oprah Winfrey and I look at a person like Gayle King, I say that they are participating in the genocide of the next generation. See, and so when you look at it like that, and you look at you, because the threat isn't just maximum sophisticated confusion. The threat isn't just that they're trying to create distractions in our, in our ranks. The fact is they are actively participating in genocide. And so now, if you agree with that, I'm saying, how do you eliminate that threat? And then where do you look and stop and pause and say, well, let me measure it by gender? I'm saying measure it by their effectiveness
but we're saying something,
in killing.
But you're saying something. You're saying, see, this is where we get in the weeds. Do you not agree that we should not talk? See, this is why this conversation.
Can I add to what Eric is saying? The subtle language is more dangerous than Snoop Dogg calling her out of her name, and the finesse in which she's maneuvering around, it's cunning. It's the sly fox. Malcolm talked about there's no difference between the fox and the wolf. They're both canines. You know what I mean? Snoop was the wolf, and she's the fox. There's no difference in the language that Willie Lynch talked about. We understand this and can listen to both and hear and understand what they're saying and have a valid response right there. If Lisa Leslie would have, instead of sitting back in her chair and challenged her right there on the spot, they probably would have never aired. They probably would have never aired it, but she was so cunning. The network thought that she could get over it, would fly over people's heads, but they would do it.
Oh, it was poison, man. It was arsenic. It was arsenic.
Yes, it was.
It was arsenic.
Yes, it was.
I'm telling you, I saw it, and it was.
I'm gonna hang up and listen.
Yeah, man. I'm saying, and the only question that I'm asking is this: what then is the, if we recognize, or let's determine. I'm willing to have the conversation to say, well, if I'm wrong in identifying it as arsenic, right, or mustard gas, or any of those other agents, right, that's what it was. If I'm wrong in that, then tell me I'm wrong, and then let's identify what it was. And then let's figure out what the appropriate action in eliminating the threat is. But please don't tell me that if we identify it as a threat, that we're looking at gender. I'm saying let's look at the threat.
No, I don't. When you use the word gender, I'm not suggesting. This is, for me, this is not a gender conversation from my perspective, and I don't even think from Farrakhan's perspective. So let's just agree. Let's agree so we can get to where we need to be with this conversation. There is no reason ever in life to disrespect a woman, even if you're articulating anger. That's what I learned from my mother. That's what I learned from my father. So guess what? So now we're mixing that up into a bigger issue here. So we stick a pin in that. No one better call Renee a bitch and any of the women in my life, because that's not going to be I'm not going to appropriately manage you, irregardless if you're right or wrong. So, but the thing that really bothered me is because he has so much influence and so much power, and he should have shown some emotional intelligence that would allow us to be able to say, hey, look, Snoop was appropriately awake. He's saying this is what's happening in this country. This is what's happening to black men. He's lived it. So let's take a pin in that. But let's look how clever the white corporation of white supremacy is right now. We are having a conversation about Snoop as opposed to having a conversation about the corporation of white supremacy, right? The code of conduct that we need to conduct ourselves with and living in our community. The breakdown of the male and the young male and female and the older female, and we've all been participating in destroying each other and making it easy for the Willie Lynch papers to live and thrive and breathe in our community. These debates are what they are, and they're healthy, but we should drill them down every chance we get and bring it back to where we are. This is where we are. This is why Willie Lynch works so well. Because even when we are pushing back, even when we are identifying the slave catcher, even when we are identifying all of those things we said, they take us in that space, and we stay there too long. So if I call City Hall a criminal class, they'll say, "Oh well, you shouldn't have called it a criminal class." That's like, wait a minute, let's stay right there. Let's deal with why we're saying that's the case. Let's say why it's really impacting us. So Willie Lynch is actively working as we speak right now.
So, question: do we have any comments in the thread, Kev?
Oh yeah, I'm sorry, Eric.
That's okay.
Manira said, "Great day, everyone." Sid says the network is complicit in this, and I want to get back to that. They knew it could cause this madness among us, the corporation of white supremacy. Raheem says that's always been the case, sister out loud. I think he's responding to what happened to black men protecting their black queen. Men are acting like women, and the women have taken up the masculine role. Everything is turned around. We talked about that yesterday. I agree. Again, men are not the men from yesteryear. That's an issue, and we talked about why, because Willie Lynch is operating effectively. And Tamisha Moore said Farrakhan is right. Hanif was listening. Raheem said, "Wait, Eric, just gave an apples and oranges example." I don't know. That's early in the feed, so I apologize, guys. Diane does a much better job at this, so she's going to curse me out later. So anyway, but this is but see, Willie Lynch is right now happening. And I'm glad we might need to stay on this book a little longer, Eric.
Well, what's going to happen is we'll be able to make reference back to it, right, when things occur. But this is the purpose of it. It's not to read the book and then move away from it, right? It's to read it, internalize it, and have it be a part of our daily thinking. Right, because all of this stuff is alive. None of it is gone away. The things, we go back to the book of, Death of a King. I've not put that book away. We finished reading it. We had a discussion about it, but we continue to refer back to it, right? The miseducation of a Negro. We're referring back to it. We'll continue to refer back to the Willie Lynch letter. And, and it'll go on. But these ought to be, they need to shape our thinking. They need to shape our thinking.
Too, I think that street culture now has become such a negative force and having such a negative impact on our children that community of folk, we need to bring them to task too. They don't get a buy either. That street culture, that part of the entertainment class has done their communities a great disservice. Because remember, Snoop Dogg comes out of the gang narrative of rap music, when in New York we were talking about positive things, and now what the corporation of white supremacy did back then, they took that music and said, "Look, all y'all are gangsters, and you gonna make money. All you gotta do is pick up a gun and call women's BITCHs and call black people NIGGZZG and all of that stuff."
We talked about that. And we talked about the damage that all caused.
I'm sorry, and we didn't push back. So now let's call Snoop and say, "Well, we need to talk about the role you play."
Oh, absolutely. I don't disagree with that.
The other guy that's going around with the beats. He's trying to make like he's a philanthropist. No, you criminalize music. You criminalize our community.
All of them.
You create a
We got to talk to Ice Cube about that. We got to talk to, we sit and want to take selfies with Ice-T now, right? And talk about what a great guy is. We need to have conversations with all of them. I don't dispute any of that.
No, I'm not even saying that you're disputing it. I'm saying here's an opportunity.
Oh, absolutely.
I'm not disputing anything anyone said. I'm saying here's an opportunity to look out how effective Willie Lynch is working right now. Look at how effectively our miseducation of the Negro. Look at the relationship between the black male and the black male. Black women and the black male. And all of these people have played a role in making Willie Lynch a living document. Yeah. So now he gets to say, "Oh, you BITCH." But when we challenge about his role and the self-destruction of our kids, how is he going to feel about that? So he's no different, if you analyze it correctly, he's no different than Gayle. It's just like when we said we don't want to use the N-word anymore. None of us should use it. I thought that was appropriate. Now, if you told them don't use the N-word in music, they'll come up with some hypothesis that says it's okay because it's not nigga, whatever. Right. See, we got to have it's got to be a real dialogue in how Willie Lynch is working.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to take these commercial breaks, and then when we come back, there's a lot more to talk about.
Wow, this was great.
Thanks
Thank
for
you.
calling in. Thanks for tuning in.
Stick with it. Wait a minute. Oh, wait a minute. Stick with us.
Yeah, stick with us. Hit the share button. We'll be right back.
Do you have loss prevention or safety concerns? Black Belt Security and Investigations has armed and unarmed guards that can protect what is important to you. For security you can count on, visit www.bbsillc.com or call 1-800-493-1859 today.
BBSI. BBSILLC.com.
So,
Yeah, so we got to go back, Eric. If we have to go back. I hate to say go back in time. That's not usually the appropriate term, but we have to do a deep analysis to fix, what has happened in the past. And everybody has to be open to a real dialogue.
Yeah.
We can't run away from it. It's going to be painful. It's going to be a very painful dialogue. We got to have it with each other. And it's not personal. It's the fact that there are rules of engagement. There's appropriate there's appropriate behavior, and we're under siege right now. I mean, there's a great storm gathering right now, and you can see it politically happening in this country. And as I've seen what's happened in Iowa, as I've seen Trump's posture at the religious breakfast, as I've seen his posture when he came and talked about what he said at the White House, and I've seen him stoke all of this angst and fear. I don't want us to get all drawn into that. I want us to start talking about how do we inoculate ourselves? How do we build a better future for ourselves? How do we build better relations to ourselves? Stop getting involved in his angry, language, and start saying, okay, if this guy continues to thrive, if this guy continues to live, if this system, the way it's built between Democrats and Republicans, if these oligarchs still control the marketplace and everything that we do, we're going to be in trouble. So we have to prioritize how we do what we need to do. And that is my concern.
Yeah, I think, here's where I am. We have to recognize, and again, I'm willing to sit down and have a conversation about this, and you all let me know. Are we at war or not? Are we at war or not? And so now you've got people on the other side. They're not operating by any rules, right? They're literally just trying to annihilate us. And my question is, are we sitting over here not understanding that we're at war and they're trying to annihilate us, and we're talking about decorum? We're talking, you understand? So I'm looking going, I'm at war. If all of the things that I'm reading, the imminency of our demise is at hand. That is fact. And so my thing is, look, we have to deal with it like that. We have to deal with it as an existential threat. And so I think that there may be time when we no longer have this as an imminent threat, right? To be able to sit down and talk about in a post-mortem how we can and how we might want to do some things. But like in the middle of the neighborhood being shelled with bombs, mustard gas being sprayed all over the place, our kids being gunned down and incarcerated, I don't know about this idea of having conversations about decorum. Call or go.
Hey, I want to push back on a little bit on the rap culture or the street culture, as you called it, and all of them being bad. Recently, man, I don't know if you guys know about the cat Nipsey Hussle. He was an amazing mind that was changing everything as far as rap business and how we looked at each other. And he came up out of the gang culture as well. And he was doing amazing things until they took him out. It might sound conspiratorial or what have you, but I just want to push back again on the language that we use when we say all. And we need allies from everywhere. So if we alienate people to a certain extent, you will not be able to reach certain allies that you're going to need going forward. That's all.
No, Mike, I wasn't, Mike. No, maybe it was a misinterpretation. I was not suggesting that that rap music played a role in a negative role of what was happening in our community. I'm saying that there's a subculture of rap music.
Oh, I completely understand that. I completely understand that, but go ahead.
You go ahead. No, Mike, you the caller.
No. I completely understand what you were saying, but I heard key words, all, and the culture. Yeah, Snoop has to be held accountable for his language and what he contributed to a dysfunctional society. We all know that, but we're gonna need allies, and there are people out there that just need to. They need to be harvested. We have to turn ourselves back into farmers and protect people who are coming up with these great minds. We might miss out on a great mind because we see them as a gang culture or a street culture or something else instead of hearing what is really coming out of the culture. And it's a new wave of music coming out that people really need to keep their eyes open and ears open for.
Well, Mike, let me ask you a question. Let me ask you a question before you get off the show. Off the air. Do you believe? And this is I'm just trying to go someplace with this. Is there ever a reason to be a slave catcher?
No.
Okay.
No.
So, do you believe there was ever a reason for them to promote violence and deviant sexual behavior and play the role of diminishing the value of the woman and all of their imagery and their language?
No, but let me qualify that. There was that was a whole CIA along with the drugs that was pumped in and all of this. Yeah, but go ahead. No, that was no reason for that. No.
I get what you said. No, I get what you're saying. I got it. One of the things I'm not going to do with you or anybody, I get what you're saying. You gave me an opportunity to clear it up and put it in perspective, and I appreciate that because I'm not saying that everybody is bad. I'm saying the subculture of rap did harm our black community.
Right. Yeah, because he should have well evolved way past that, being the businessman that he is, the father that he is, the grandfather that he now is, and he should have, been in an elevated way of thinking. Let me approach this so that I don't end up in the same bag shit.
You just said something that was so important. You said that he's a grandfather and a father.
Yes, he is.
So, that means, in articulating what his concerns were about what Gayle is participating in as an agent of the Corporation of White Supremacy, that would have been a great opportunity to show his level of emotional intelligence so it could have had a bigger impact, a positive impact on the people that he wanted to listen to him. And he still could have gotten the same outcome. He could have still showed the same anger. Right? So that's very interesting. That's very interesting you say that. I think that even at my age, even when I'm dealing with my kids and my grandkids, I always have to make sure that in any of my teachable moments that I explore it the right way so they can get that. They might not listen to me until 20 years later, but at least I can articulate it where they will remember it in a way that could be effective for them.
Right. I'll have to keep pulling over, but I'm going to get where I'm going sometime today. All right, have a good one.
Thanks for calling, brother.
Hey, Eric, something happened in Baltimore.
Hey,
remember when Congressman Cummings died, God bless his soul, and then we had this issue about his wife running for the office.
Yes, sir.
Well, obviously, Baltimore was listening. Obviously, the country is listening. All of these legacy seats have been majority of them have been very bad for Black Americans in this country. when the husband dies, the wife takes the seat. When the father dies, the son takes the seat. And we believed in that legacy stuff because we saw white people do it, so we thought it was okay. In fact, it turned out to be a horror story for us. So Mfume, the former congressman that has served several terms, and I knew him. I mean, I don't know about all the things he's done thus far, but he won the primary. And of course, in Maryland, they have ranked voting, but he won the primary for the Democrats. So people in the district were saying, no, you just don't get to get elected. We just don't raise your hand based on what we're saying in our community because you are Cummings' husband. And I thought that was appropriate.
Right.
I was encouraged by that. I was encouraged by it.
I was encouraged by it too. But I get back to, I'd like to know, the agenda is very clear to me. It's fighting for economic and political power. And so, Nkume, I want to know, what that's all about for you, right? He did serve in Congress before. I'm not apprised of his record when he was in Congress. I don't know how he advanced the football, with respect to helping us seize economic and political power. But I'm right now, Kevin, I'm looking at these folks who are running for these seats all over the country now. And what I don't hear is this forceful conversation that says it's all about representing, if I'm black, I'm running to represent issues that are concerning the black community, and those issues are clear: economic and political power. That's it. And
I hope that his community, when he was a congressman before, he was a highly effective congressman. He's not like these guys that we've seen of late. He comes from the old school, but not even Cummings school. He was very, very effective. But now, getting back to your point, let's hope that he brings some of that institutional knowledge and that ruggedness, because he was very, very smart. Let's hope that he now has analyzed, being on the sidelines, that he's analyzed some of the things that are necessary to get to what you're saying about. Let's hope and pray that the people in that community that made the decision to bring him back, maybe because of maybe because of just those principles you outlined. Let's see what happens. But I'm just happy at this moment that they did not, elect his wife because of the legacy piece. That would have really disturbed me.
Right.
You know what I mean, buddy? That would have really disturbed me. So, we talk about that all the time. We have great examples in our own community, our own neighborhoods as we speak. Majority of the black delegation at the state of New Jersey from Essex County, they didn't earn their seats. They're all appointed. So the electorate, not using those principles you're talking about, can't gauge anything that they're doing because they don't work for the people that live in Newark or work for the people that live in Essex County. So we get garbage every day because they don't work for us because we didn't put them there. And the reason why we didn't put them there is because we don't have a plan of action to save our own lives. So, that's, so I'm an old guy and I've been around a long time, and I've known him for some time, especially at the National League of Cities. Very, very confident. I just hope and pray that he's focused at that level because he's learned so much. He's been through so much.
Right.
So let's see. But those principles we should all be guided by. Economic power, political power, period. What are they going to do for us in that space?
That's all we want to know. That's all we want to know. So what else is on deck, man?
Now, the other thing, though, I want to touch on this morning is, maybe because I've just, again, been around so long, this coronavirus is the biggest joke and hoax that I can remember in a long time. The SARS, I remember it happening in China, happening in other parts of the world. I remember the H1N1 virus. I remember all of these breakouts all over the world, and it was always said that this huge pandemic is going to occur. But I got to tell you, this is not even conspiracy. It's like analyzing this stuff. The coronavirus is a very serious issue in China. They didn't handle it right. And the people that were in China, they should all be quarantined so they won't spread it. Thank God we have the new technology and communication networks that we do, and the preparedness that we do in other countries, especially in countries like America and London and so forth, right? But the coronavirus is a big hoax. I mean, when it gets to here at you and our table. Now we have had issues with our food, but Ebola, SARS, all of those things that happened in those countries, I think these countries like America and London, we should be looking to those countries and helping them to figure out how they can abate those things from happening and getting spread here. But what I'm finding out now is you have people now saying, I've read a lot of newspaper articles. We should be stopping people from coming into the country. That's not appropriate. We should now they're saying stop Africans from a certain part of Africa from coming in America, coming to this country. That is the plan to cause mass confusion.
So,
I don't buy that at all.
So I just like to be careful with language, right? So,
but
but you gotta let me finish before you interrupt me. You gotta let me.
But I'm just saying, wait a minute. You said you want to be careful with language. Don't be careful with mine. That's my opinion. Okay.
That's what I'm saying. So before you interrupt me, allow me to.
Don't be careful with my language. I know what I'm talking. Right. You said you're gonna be careful with language. Go ahead now. Go ahead.
Right. So before you interrupt me, allow me to say what I'm saying.
Okay. Go ahead. I haven't said anything all day.
Right. So I like to be careful with language. I don't work for the CDC. I don't know anybody who works for the CDC. I have no inside information regarding it all. What I do know is that it is very dangerous. I do know as of today there were reports that a ship in Bayonne, that there were people on that ship who were quarantined because of symptoms that they were showing, and there were doctors and emergency staff on hand to appropriately deal with that. For me personally, to say that it is a hoax, which suggests that it is fake, it's not real, we shouldn't pay attention to it, we shouldn't give it a level of seriousness, I would not say that. I'm not going to say.
Let me clean up my word
let
hoax
me
then.
finish.
Well, wait a minute, because you wait a minute though. Now I said on the show all day, y'all go back and forth. I'm going to say what I have to say. Hoax. Let me give some clarity to the word hoax. Right?
Read the definition of hoax.
This is not a pandemic. This is not something you should all be running to the places, wrapping your hair around. They are managing this quite well. But when I read what's on the CDC, I read what's in the World Health Organization. You might not know it, but I read it. And what I'm saying to you is, when I use the word hoax, this is not something that this young lady on this block, just Shady Lathan and Tamisha should be quite worried about. If you look how they're playing it, you would think there's a pandemic occurring and that it's going to be spreading in this country. And I want everybody to know this is what Big Pharma does on a daily basis. Now, let me clear that up.
Right. So, again, I'm going to caution people to be careful. I'm going to caution people that if you are experiencing any of the symptoms, that you go see your doctor, right? I'm real careful with that, right?
You can be careful. I'm telling everybody, if you got a cold, go to the doctor. If you have a cold, wash your hands. The stuff that you spray your table with, right? All of it has a coronavirus in it. If you sick, go to the doctor, because that's what normal smart people do. If you have a virus, go to the doctor. That's what smart people do. But what I'm saying to you, if you get one incident out of 6 billion people in the world, it's concentrated in China. You might have one person that goes to the hospital that have it at UMD&J. All of Newark is not going to have it. You might have. Is it a serious? Is coronavirus serious at its originated form? Yes. But if you get a cold, if you have influenza, you go to the doctor.
Right. There we go.
I mean, come on now. I know what the hell I'm talking about now.
What else is going on?
Well, the other thing is this. When I was on 14th Avenue yesterday, the city was filthy as I don't know.
Hey, but you know what? I gotta say that hot dog, that Italian hot dog, at that Italian hot dog place. Did you get a hot dog, Kevin?
No, I can't eat the hot dogs.
You can't eat the hot dogs?
No, I can't.
Yeah, man, listen, that's...
But I want to go. Can I go back to the feed? Now I want to go back to the
go back to the feed.
Kevin, you're not seeing firsthand. You're not boots on the ground. Okay, so that's just Shady Latham. Okay. I have direct conversations with one of the largest children health organizations in the country on a daily basis.
Well, I'd like to have them on the show.
Okay, now wait a minute. She made a statement. I'm not boots on the ground. I'm reviewing what's happening at CDC. I have access to all of the information. I know what's happening in China. I know how it's spreading in all of the data points of Africa. You know why? Because I have conversations with those people every day. I have conversations with the people at St. Michael's that are now on code 3, code 4, just in case if they get someone that comes in from China or other parts of the world that might be similarly diagnosed with coronavirus. So when I come on this show, as I've said before, I speak with context.
Right, but I think what just said, and I don't want to put words in her mouth, is this: if we have those kinds of contacts and those kinds of resources, it'd be nice to have them on the show.
Well, yeah, but I'm just bringing it up today.
Yeah,
but she just see. Don't try to say what she said. I know, just like she's a brilliant woman. I'm giving clarity to her what she said. Yeah. And that's why when she said boots on the ground, I gave her where I'm getting my information from. So that was appropriate. I understand what she's saying. I'm cool with that. But let's get back to the North Dirty Streets.
Listen, it's filthy, Kevin. But you know, it's filthy. It is filthy. And it reminded me as I left, back to the Willie Lynch story, right? That as long as you, or Willie Lynch letter, as long as you have conditioned folks to be okay with being in a hog pen, right? And you don't talk to them about the house, then you never have to worry about them coming into your house, because they will think that their lot in life is living in this hog pen, and they'll just work to clean, to get amenities for the hog pen. And I think that that's where a large majority of folks are. But I said this, and I said it in different terms for a long time. I said, we have been conditioned to settle for less.
I don't know if anybody drives around the interior of the city. And I got to tell you something. I don't drive around it often either. But what I saw on 14th, 15th, 16th, in all of those blocks, there was garbage everywhere. I mean, it was unbelievable. Every lot, every block, in front of houses. I mean, it was dank. It was dark. If you drive up into the inner core of the city of Newark, you would think you were in Beirut. And I'm saying to myself, I understand that people are just having a very, very difficult time in life itself. But they got to know that these people that represent them in their city don't give a goddamn about them.
No, they don't.
And then I got to ask them a question. How could you not get up in the morning with a broom and a dustpan and with some plastic gloves on and keep your block clean? You know why? Because majority of those people that live in those houses, they don't own them, number one. Those absentee landlords, because they keep talking about gentrification, don't care because they treat them like animals and dogs. And Willie Lynch paper letters are operating up in those neighborhoods like you've never seen before.
Yeah.
And these are this is a city
right.
that's being drugged into, like when a alligator gets you, and it drags you down.
Right.
It just drags, like it puts like that little thing. It doesn't take you down like this. Yeah. This is what's presently happening to the people in the city of Newark.
But let's expand it, because not just in Newark. Go in those number streets in Irvington. Go in those areas in Orange. Go in those areas in East Orange. It's not, go down the hill in West Orange, what they call bottom of the hill in West Orange. So not just to see, we gotta have the conversation. This is not isolated to Newark. Go into all of where black folk reside in Essex County and beyond. Go to Camden. Go to Trenton. Should I keep going? Go to Jersey City, F Ward. What are we talking about? So when we this disease has metastasized, it has spread. It's not just isolated in that one area. Hey, Kev.
Yeah.
Listen, we had a spirited conversation yesterday, and I sent you a link. And I had a spirited conversation with a gentleman after you guys left the barbershop. Farrakhan gave me a great cut. I took my hat off so to be able to show it off, right? So about universal basic income. But the conversation in the barbershop started with the gentleman asking, how do we begin to extricate ourselves from our situation? And I said, by seizing economic and political power. And what he said was that it started with education. And I didn't disagree with him, but I said, but in order to, when we look at why we have such poor education, it is linked to poverty, right? It's linked to poverty. And so I said, so I think that providing this universal basic income would afford opportunity for folks to, and I'm not just talking about education inside the classroom, I'm talking about exposure of the complete human being. And I think that having universal basic income would afford the opportunity for parents and guardians to provide exposure. And it broke into this amazing conversation. And I didn't get the name of the gentleman. I had to leave. But I'm going to try to get his name and possibly have him, come and talk, because he has a breadth of world travel under his belt. And I like for him to, to be a part of larger conversations that we have here on the show. But I have more conversations today. I believe that one way to begin to stop the bleeding, right? Not correct the issue, but we're bleeding out. And not just foundational Black Americans, but there's 99%. We're bleeding out. And one way to stop it, to tie a tourniquet, is to provide universal basic income.
Listen, the concept of universal basic income has been explored in Finland and that part of the country for the last 10 years. And basically it was a failed experiment. And let me just stay right there. And they touted a number of reasons. Because once they started it with a number of people, it was beneficial for them. But they had no long-term strategy on how to still get those people to work, how to get those people back, how to get those people to develop wealth. I'm just using the word wealth because I can't think of another word now. But to give them real strong financial stability. Right. Is the stimulus appropriate? Would I support a stimulus program like that for a short period of time? Right? Yes. But every stimulus program since I've been born that I've seen us embrace, right, has always turned out to be a failure. Because when I look at the other communities that have gotten the reparations, I'm talking about reparations in a different way now, because that's a form of reparations. Now, because you have to figure out, is everybody going to get it? Is everybody going to get that $1,000? What groups of people gets disqualified from getting it? So once you start getting in that space, it reminds me of the same social programs that were created to break the Black family up in the first place. Now, there's been a lot of examples how stimulus can work. I remember when the financial meltdown happened, everybody that was unemployed got that extra 2 years stimulus, right? That gave them some opportunity to at least stay alive because they lost all their value. But now, once that stimulus went away, they're practically dead now because those jobs never came back. The income disparities got even bigger. So I want us to say, okay, we're going to do that temporarily, fine. But I don't believe that the guy that's rich, the guy that's the upper middle class making $700,000 a year should be getting $1,000 a month. I think there has to be a threshold on where you get how you get that money if we're going to agree to that short-term stimulus.
Right. So, I don't think it should be short-term. The more I'm looking at it, the more it makes sense to me. So what's happening now is this. There's this offloading of jobs that are never going to come back. We talked about artificial intelligence and what artificial intelligence has done, right? When we look at robotics, we look at Amazon, for instance, and it's in that, and I'm going to post the, what Yang talks about. I'm going to post that YouTube video.
Yeah, I actually saw it. Yeah, I saw it.
Right? And so when we look at this, it is happening. These jobs are going away. They're never coming up. They're never coming back. And industries are looking at how to displace more and more human beings with artificial intelligence. So the idea is that these industries, these companies, will be paying into this, I don't want to call it a fund, but they will be taxed.
Well, it's a fund. It's okay.
So let's call it a fund. So they'll be taxed. And that tax that they'll be, whatever you want to call it, right? Because I don't want people to get mixed up in it being a tax. But they'll be paying into this thing. And then it will supplement income for everybody. But I think that it is necessary. There's no other way to do it. I'm telling you, how else do you do it? You can't compete. If you were to say, and I don't know the numbers, so please don't get hung up on the numbers, but if you were to say that every job, that every robot in the warehouse at a company like Amazon is replacing 200 jobs, where are those 200 people going to work? How is that going to happen? And so nor do I think Yang is saying that this $1,000 a month is going to make everybody wealthy. But what it will do is it will be a stimulus. It will be a shot to the economy.
Yeah. It's
right?
like this. It's a story. Let's just suggest that we have a human structural deficit when it comes to the cycle of employment. So we have the structural deficit. So in order to get rid of a structural deficit, right, you have to engage in, management, you have to engage in efficiency, you have to engage in all that stuff, right? So we have a structural deficit. So we got the 1% and we got the 0%. Now, and taking your premise that because artificial intelligence and biochemistry and all these industries are going to be wiping us out, right? There would be no jobs available. 2053 black people back on the plantation, and blah 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 blah. We go on and on and on. There's a discussion to have about that. But the program as it is at this present moment, the program that has been engaged in around the country, around the world, has not worked. And that's the problem, because nobody's factoring all those other things that you're saying. They're saying just give somebody relief. But I got the biggest relief I want. I'm talking about, for me, personally, my group. Before I even get into that, I want to know how the hell the restorative justice discussion I've been having and reparations I've been having is not there. That's the conversation I want to have. Because until you deal with that, black people are only going to be a commodity to their wealth. Black people will get that $1,000 and they can do it. I don't care what they did with it. But it will never be enough to break the long-term systemic horror of poverty that we've been in for the last 400 years.
I don't
want
disagree
to
with that.
displace with that other discussion.
I don't disagree with that, but I don't think that the universal basic income I don't think that it should be confused with being a substitute for reparations.
No, I'm not saying you're saying that. I'm not saying you're saying that. I didn't say
No,
that.
I'm saying that the informed class should make sure that conversation about universal income is a conversation separate and apart from what foundational black Americans, or check the hat out, right, American descendants of slavery, have a claim to. So we have a unique claim, and we need to continue to push that narrative, that agenda.
Right.
All right? We need to do that. And we need to, but it shouldn't just be, so now you take me down a whole nother, it shouldn't just be a conversation. It shouldn't just be a narrative, right? We should be actively working and identifying folks who have the courage to say that they are running on that agenda. Because until we have those people in the House of Representatives, in the Senate, right, who will be supporting that agenda, all it is a narrative. So we need to push that agenda within our own ranks, and we need to identify folks like Ayanna Pressley said, no more Representative Ayanna Pressley, no more black faces without black voices. If you're not coming with a voice and with the courage to speak truth to power when it comes to foundational black Americans, stay the hell home.
You know what, though? I agree. I agree with you, Eric. You're absolutely right.
Right.
I'm not even saying that some sort of stimulus is not appropriate. I got to tell you, I'm not disqualified.
But listen, when you look at California and you look at Skid Row and you see the number of homeless people there, when you go up to Seattle and you see the number of homeless people there, all across the country, you see the number of homeless people there. We have a crisis. We have a crisis.
No, Eric, no, I agree. I'm not going to belabor that. We do have a crisis, but guess what? That's the other part of the existential threat that we're talking about. I think this political cycle that we're going through right now, and I believe that we talk about this and we laugh about it. There's a storm gathering, and I got to tell you, I want everybody to listen that something bad is getting ready to happen.
Listen, there's an uprising, Kevin. There's an uprising, and we talked about. Hey, Kevin,
if you really analyze, okay, you're right. If you really analyze history, we're right there at that tipping point again. If you look at what's happening in the environment, when you look at what's happening as far as the inequality that in our society, if you look at the racial wealth gap, forget all of the other people, you have to know historically that something bad is going to happen. And we need to prepare ourselves for that. That's not being a boogeyman. It is happening in real time.
Yes.
Just go up the street. Let's go up the street here.
You know what, Kevin? Every morning now, I'm telling you, every single morning, when I get up, Amina will tell you, this is my armor. I put it on to remind me and to let everybody else know that I know who I am and I know what the existential threat is and what my singular focus is every single day.
I don't think that people are ready. I mean, no, I shouldn't. I'm just going to say it because I don't have time to try to fix anything on it. But I don't think foundational Black Americans, American descendants of slaves, are ready to break free. Willie Lynch, after reading the Willie Lynch papers with you yesterday, I'm like, my God, we're so current in that space. The psychological evilness of it is still appropriately engaged. Yeah. And I'm saying to myself, well, damn. I mean, if this book and that was done in 1712 is actively working that way right now, well, that whole thing that I joke about, like go and dig a ditch and put yourself in it,
do it.
You might as well go ahead and do it, because if you're not ready to engage in revolution, regardless if we might believe blue or green or purple, if you're not ready to be engaged in a revolution, you are committing your own homicide.
Yeah, you are.
I mean, just go back and read the book.
Go back. Hey, Kevin,
read the letter.
Listen. And I told you this before we got on air, but we talked about this during the show months ago, a year ago, that there were going to be these civil wars, these mini wars that were going to pop up in every household, where you were going to have this younger generation doing battle with this older generation about the direction that this country needs to go in and the pain that this younger generation is feeling. I got to tell you, man. I was so pleased last night that I have won some small battles, you know, and it started off rocky with my mother, you know. It started off rocky. I'm going to tell you. In the beginning, Kevin, she was saying, we got to stop Trump. Trump is evil. Trump is evil. And I said, Ma, it's not about Trump. This is not about Trump. This is our issue. We have to look and we have to say, what are we getting? We have to value our vote. We have to leverage our power. Because Trump didn't create the issue that exists with us. It's about America and what America has done through its racist policies to us. And both sides have participated, you know, and through just continuing to have conversation, not disrespectful conversations with her, but just to point things out when opportunities existed. And then, you know, and in my own development of all of this, yesterday she said to me, she said, Eric, she said, I want a hat. I said, you want a what, Ma? She said, I want a hat. I said, you want this hat?
Mom. That's my girl.
Right? And then I said to her, I said, I'll give you a hat. She said, no, I'm going to buy a hat. So she bought two hats, Kevin, and I let her buy the two hats. You know, and she put the hat on. And I'm going to tell you, it was a moment because my mother is 77 years old. She'll be 78. On the 11th of this month, and to see that her thinking has changed says to me there is hope. But you guys have to keep having conversations, and you have to keep sharing the show. But there is hope. We got a caller. Caller, go.
Oh, okay. Hey guys, it's Farrakhan. I just called back to say, I wanted to say, I apologize for getting so irate on the show a little earlier, right? But I was just feeling some type of way about the issue. And that's it. I just called. I had to put the phone down and everything. I had to go and breathe for a second because I was just so bothered.
Hey, welcome to our club. Sometimes Diane tells me to walk out the room and just shut up.
Hey, Farrakhan, you know what though? Yeah. Can I tell you something? Your passion is important. It's required. It is required. If you approach these conversations, Farrakhan, cool and calm, I'd be concerned, right? Because when you read these books, when you understand what did what is, we're gonna say it again, to be conscious and to be black in America is to be in a constant state of rage. Right. So the rage is welcome. It's welcome, and I have no doubt that you and Sister Renee, Kevin, me, Diane, Just Shady Lathan, all of the rest of the folks who are part of the Informed class, that we are singularly focused on trying to uplift our community. How to get there is what we're going through right now. These are the growing pains, and it is extricating ourselves from this disease, right? So people are seeing it in real life, that we have also been impacted by the Willie Lynch letter.
Okay. Well, it's interesting. It's interesting, though, Farrakhan. A year ago, when you said the word separate, me and Eric were like, well, what are you talking about? Now, through the evolution of our conversation, we're like, yeah, I get it, and it's like everything else we work through. It's like we're engaged in an exercise of, uncoupling ourselves from what Willie Lynch has done to us. But here's the thing, though, that really bothers me as we move forward as a group of people, be it foundational, be it descendant of slaves. Our warrior class has been wiped out, Farrakhan. You and I got to tell you, you go through these phases of your manhood. So you go through your warrior phase, you go through your reflective stage, you go through all of these phases. So we're going into our 60s now, and we are lending ourselves to this discussion because we have allowed them to wipe out our warrior class. Our warrior class is in prison. Our warrior class is miseducated. Our warrior class is now participating in the destruction not only of their sons, but of their women. Our warrior class has been wiped out. Our warrior class has been displaced with, charlatans that are promoting themselves as pro-black when they're pro-white supremacy, white corporation supremacy. You understand what I'm saying?
Yes, sir. But all right, I'm going to sit back and listen so everybody can hear.
Thank you, brother. Listen,
so that's my concern, Eric, as we keep talking about this. I'm going back and reflecting on what Dr. Naeem Akbar said in one of the books I read when I was a teenager. Oh my God! It was, I speak about it all the time. But he says when you allow another group to socialize your children, you have to see what the outcome has been.
Yeah.
Why can't I remember his book? I had the book on my shelf.
You'll get it.
But anyway, the Vision of a Black Man. Vision of a Black Man. Yeah. Vision of a Black Man. So I want every black woman, if they can get the book, and maybe we should put it on our book club, is to read the Vision of a Black Man. Any woman that's raising a child, a black male, any male or female that are raising a black male, right, they need to read that book. Because when they let their kids off into Wayne's World on those computers and all of the stuff that they're seeing on their TV and even how they communicate with each other on the phone, between man and woman, how they see their fathers treat their mother, how they start to begin to treat their girl. It is organized crime when we don't teach our kids or reconstitute a different code of conduct on how we engage each other. We have allowed them to destroy our warrior class. And Just Shady Lathan is going to have us read the ISIS papers, and after we do when affirmative action was white, we're going to do the ISIS papers, because that book right there then breaks down further what Dr. Nellie Fuller is talking about, and it breaks down further the psychosis of what's happening to black Americans in this country. And Just Shady Lathan, I met her before. She's a wonder. She died, but she was a powerful voice. And we don't have any. Look, we don't even have women like that exploring the psychosis of what has happened as it relates to slavery, and the psychosis of what has happened to us through Jim Crow and mass incarceration and all the other things, the black codes, all the things that they have done to us to take the black man and eviscerate him.
Right.
All planned. So she is right. The ISIS papers, they do explain everything. And we're going to do that after when affirmative action was white. But I got to tell you this, Eric, we're going to have to do that on the weekend.
Yeah. Listen, man, I normally pace myself through these shows.
We're going to hey, Eric, that's a long show, Eric.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of work, too. You're going to love this book, Eric. ISIS papers.
Hey, Kevin.
You're going to love it.
You watching the debate tonight?
No.
No?
Every time I say no, what happens, Eric? Diane calls me. Get on there and watch the TV.
I think tonight I'm gonna set my my computer up, and I'm gonna broadcast live the debate because I want to see the comments from the informed class if they decide to tune in and watch it on my Facebook page.
Well, if you put it on your page and you alert me, then I'll watch it from your page.
Yeah. Because I think now we're getting into the nitty gritty of what's going to happen, right? And I think that we need to be dialed in. We need to understand how these pieces are moving on the board, and we need to start figuring out, how we're going to get involved and how we're going to look to carve some stuff out for ourselves, right? Where the opportunities are. And where we've had missed opportunities, right? And then how we go about, figuring out a strategy to make up where we have missed opportunities. But I'm looking forward to it. I think it's going to be a fantastic debate, man.
Hey, Eric, is this the one that Bloomberg's going to be on?
I don't think that he has. You know what? Let me answer the question directly. I don't know. I know that the DNC changed the rules to allow for him to be on the debate stage. Whether or not he has agreed to be on the debate stage is I don't know the answer to that. I do know though that he has just deployed a countrywide campaign effort, which look, the guy. He's just kind of come out of the closet and said, look, I'm an oligarch. I'm going to spend all of the money that I have to spend. And what he's also said is this. I want you to understand this. He said, I'm not running a primary. I'm running against Donald Trump. And so for me, I think that everybody ought to be insulted because this isn't a Donald Trump issue. This is an issue much like we're having these conversations here and, voices got raised and, we're kind of hashing out stuff. This is what a primary is supposed to be about, right? That within our family, we sit and we hash out ideas, and then through the hashing out, good, bad, ugly, knock down, drag out, we come to something and we say, okay, here's what we're going to the mat with now. Right? We've gone through this process. We've cleansed it. And here's what we're going. He's saying, screw that whole process. He said, Mike's going to get it done. I don't need to know what you think. I don't need to know what anybody else thinks. I have all of the answers and I'm going to get it done. And we should be terribly frightened of that. Because that's exactly what he's... I'm sorry, Cash.
You're right. I know. You're right.
That's exactly what he's saying.
I'm not stepping on what you're saying.
Yeah, he said, I don't need to go through your process. I think your process is garbage. I don't need to be vetted. I have the answers. I have the prescription. More importantly, guess what he said? I got the money. And I got all of your Negro whisperers. I got all your slave catchers. I got everybody. So y'all just sit back and watch me run the table. That's exactly what he's saying. And for you all not to kick all these Negro whisperers who are waiting with their brown paper bags opened up for Uncle Mike to come and drop stacks of cash in it, it's disgusting.
Yep.
And then I saw Mickey Sherrill. Oh, I'm going to drive up the hill. I'm going to leave my house in Bloomfield, drive up the hill to Montclair. She went and endorsed him. But why she endorsed him, Kevin? Because he gave her money. Uncle Mike gave her money.
And she wants to run for governor.
What are we doing, people?
Well, let me say this to you. I'm so giddy right now. I'm so happy because everything I said about the Democratic Party has come true, and I just hope. Hey, Eric, I'm black. I just hope it all turns out the way that I said, because that is the only way I believe that the revolution inside, whatever you want to call that place, that party, is going to happen, and it's going to have a... Listen, I've been listening to a lot of people across the country in the last couple of days. Something seriously is happening, and I'm so happy that the Democratic Party didn't, prove me wrong. They're not the party of the people. They don't give a daggone about you. And they think that black people are just the commodities to their wealth, and that the black people that they've been pushing out there, those talking heads, those pundits, the lobbying class, the media class, nobody's listening to them. You look at Oprah. Oprah can't even come in and get two people now. Gayle, she got to get on Facebook looking all crazy. I mean it, they'd have done it. Something out there is happening. So I'm saying, thank you, Democratic Party, because I'm a Democrat. Thank you for keeping up the good work.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. Hey, Kevin, you just slipped something by me that I didn't pay attention to.
Wait a minute, Eric. By the way, I want everybody out there to know. Everybody knows how I feel about Gayle Jenkins, right? If you talk about her, I'm going to go below the curb on you. But all of the women in my life, children, daughters, friends, I'm telling all the brothers, you better not call them a BITCH.
No.
I'm just following me, sir, because I got that golf club right over there for you.
Now, so would I do it? No. Would I condone somebody doing it?
Of course, I know you would.
Yeah. Would I? So I.
But I understood what Renee was saying.
It's a very nuanced thing, man. You know what? What I'll say is this: I understand why he did it. That's what I'm saying. I understand why he did it. But you listen, you tried to slip something by me, Kevin. You said, Mickey Sherrill, you think she wants to run for governor?
Yes.
Hey, Kevin. Listen. So, listen.
Eric,
Foundational Black Americans. Listen, what I'm going to say to you is this. Foundational Black Americans, American descendants of slavery, time to rise up. I'm
going to go run the park. I need to burn off some stress.
It's time to rise. See, this is what I'm saying. I got my armor on, Kevin. See, because I'm looking. See, when I go and when I drive up, there will be no mistake when I stand there in front of Mickey Sherrill about what my agenda is. See,
hey, Eric, look what I have. Eric, look, I have my prayer beads.
Well, you did
I have them in my hand, Eric. Look, Eric, I'm holding on like this, like. I'm holding on, Eric. Look, I'm with Teddy's prayer beads up. Oh God, Jesus! I can't. I'm worn out, Eric. Look. You got to see me. When you see me quiet, I'm actually like wearing these prayer beads out that Farrakhan gave me.
Oh my goodness,
Eric! I can't take much more of this, Eric.
Listen,
I'm telling you.
But you know what, Kevin? But this is what I'm saying. Listen, it's like the waves just keep coming, right? So now you had Murphy. Now you got somebody else, but they're never having a conversation about you. They're never having a conversation about how to resolve the issues impacting the foundation of Black American, which is economic power and political power. So now you got Uncle Mike, right, who's working with Mickey, trying to figure out how to do what? How to get more power, economically and politically, right? That's what they're focused on.
Yeah.
Y'all got to get on code.
Hey, listen, the next book, Eric's going to be putting it up, When Affirmative Action Was White. And I got to tell you, it's a powerful book. And it's really going to, I guess, re-engage us about what Black Americans never got based on their patriotism, based on their hard work, and based on what they did to build this country. One affirmative action was right.
Listen, guys, I am pooped. But you know what? I'm gonna take a half an hour nap. Hey Kev, I need some of those bread.
Eric, when we going back and forth, I grab them. I'm like, Lord, please help me through this conversation.
You know what? Next time I'm gonna have behind me. I'm gonna have a desk with the candles. I'm start lighting candles.
Oh, Eric, look.
And see, you know what? You're gonna get in trouble, Kevin. People are gonna say we making fun of their religion.
No, listen,
I just want to be clear.
Diane, I am I am into spiritual awakening, and Diane put Psalms 23 on her page yesterday, and I thought that was quite appropriate. And I think we should all read Psalms 23, and we should all reflect on God realigning him. We should be all realigning ourselves with whatever we believe in that's higher than us, that it bring goodness and love to us. So I'm not joking. I'm saying sometimes, even God's got a good sense of humor. He got me on the show with prayer beats, so he's got a good sense of humor. I love you, Aaron.
Hey, man, I love you too. Hey, guys, you all.
Hey, man, by the way, your bread, I don't eat bread anymore. I stopped eating it as of yesterday, but I got to tell you, I told Gayle the bread was there. I'm not suggesting that she eats it either, but I got to tell you, you know what you're doing.
Hey, man, listen. You're
a good baker. You're a good baker, buddy.
Well, thank you. Well, you know, I'm a good scientist. See, baking is a science.
But listen, the only bread I'm going to get is potato bread for chicken.
But if you ever want bread, right, just call me up, seriously, because you shouldn't be eating the other bread, because when you read all those ingredients in it, no.
You're right.
There should only be 4 ingredients in bread. Flour, water, yeast, and a little bit of salt, if you like that, right? But that's it. Only 4 ingredients in bread. What else? Oh, last thing, because I've been getting a lot of comments about these. What I want to do is, I told folks that I have order hats and all that kind of stuff coming in. I want to offer a discount. If you just tell me that you're going to take it and you're going to do a selfie and you're going to put it up on Instagram or you're going to put it up on Facebook, the idea is really just I want people to identify. I want them to begin to self-identify. Iconography. We have to, look, take the D off, right? Because that's not who you are. Take the R off, because that's not who you are. What you are is a foundational Black American. You are an American descendant of slavery. Let people know who you are. What does it say? Know thyself. Kevin, I love you.
I love you too, man.
Be good. Diane.
Everybody have a great weekend.
Hey, have a great weekend. I'm going to put that book up, and then I'm going to also... Oh, you know what I want to go out with? If I could find it. You got me on that video of Killer Mike.
Oh, yeah, I like that
video.
That
Killer Mike videos. Can I find... Man, I need...
Can you find it?
Kevin, I need glasses.
And remember, me and Killer Mike didn't love each other at first, but I got to tell you, I like the guy.
That brother...
I got to give him credit. I mean, listen, everybody has the right to evolve and change their mind about stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm courageous enough to say, I think, I don't agree with some of his... No, stop. Let me stop. He's doing a great job.
He's doing we got a phone call. Let's take this last call. Go ahead, caller.
Hey, did you hang up the show yet?
No, man.
Okay, no, I'm just going to say, I'm trying to remind everybody to share yesterday's show. You got to make sure they, because you said it earlier, make sure that they remember. Share yesterday's show every day to feel Black History Month.
Yes, okay. Every single day. Just find 5 people. Go through your phone. Go through your phone and tell 5 people today about yesterday's show. Willie Lynch letters and making of a slave. Just 5 people. If everybody did that, just 5 people, people would learn about it at an exponential pace, and that will be a start to helping us dig ourselves out of the ditch we're in. So do that, please. Here's Killer Mike. Thanks for reminding us, Farrakhan.
I just want to say one of my favorite writers growing up was a man named James Baldwin. And I remember Baldwin saying, you ask my father to wait, my brother to wait, my uncle to wait, how long must I wait on freedom? How long must I wait on rights and equality and liberty? And as a black child, that resonated with me because I knew I'd been denied, and I personalized that. But as I grew, I started to understand poor white people have been denied. Women have been denied. Gays and lesbians, transgender people been denied. Immigrant children been denied. Everybody outside of that 1% has been denied. So I want you to take a few seconds to look to your left and look to your right. Look to your neighbor and say, neighbor, the time is now. There are more of us. We're stronger. We will wait no longer. The time is now. When you go to that booth next year, I need you to carry in that booth the memory of this room. Black, white, straight, gay, men, female. We are together. We are united. Our time is right now. We will not wait 4 more years. We will not wait 20 more years. We will not wait 2 more presidents. We will not wait 3 more presidents. The time is now. The time is not in the future. The time is not some abstract time. The time is not something that might be. The time ain't something that could be. The time ain't nothing that should be, that would be. It ain't tomorrow. It ain't the day after. It ain't coming next week. The time is. The time is. The time is. The time is. Senator Bernard Sanders will be the next president of the United States of America. Thank you all.